Some help with that. Let's bring in Jen and the Money Men, Executive Vice President of the Commonwealth Foundation and Fellow at Independent Women's Forum, Jennifer Stefano, Business and Market Analyst and NewsMax contributor, Seth Denson, and America's Accountant, Dan Geltrude. Guys, the whole gang is here. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, everyone, let's start, as we always do, obviously, with those markets. Now, the markets were closed yesterday for President's Day, but it was a rough end to last week for Wall Street, and the futures are way down this morning as well. This, of course, all tied into everything happening in Eastern Europe. Seth, what can investors expect over the next few days?
Volatility. I got to think that the markets are going to be reacting to what happens in Europe. Certainly overnight, the Asian markets took a dip. European markets were choppy as well. I think this week is going to be choppy unless you know what you're buying and why you're buying it. I'd avoid it. We'll see choppiness through the rest of the week in the markets, U.S.
Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think with so much uncertainty happening over with Ukraine and Russia, investors are going to be very concerned because if there is an invasion, and it looks like there will be, significant increases in energy costs, that will translate to more inflation. That is not good for us.
No, we do not. I do not want to hear that. Nobody at home wants to hear that either, Dan. All right, well, we're already seeing oil prices surging over the Ukraine crisis. Oil is almost at $95 a barrel, and the average national gas prices is $3.53. Jennifer, is this even worse than what analysts may have even predicted?
Yes, and it's because of President Biden's energy policies. I mean, the number one thing that nobody's talking about is the way he leaned on investors not to invest in fossil fuels. The CEO of Blackstone said that fossil fuel companies can't even get financing right now. So as demand is shooting up, as we're now using energy as a lever in possibly averting war, this is going to hit hardest the American working men and women and American businesses.
All right, how about this? The story nobody wants to hear. A new strain of bird flu is now breaking out in chicken flocks in several states. Dan, with recalls and tests being ordered by the USDA, when, the average American goes to the grocery store, what can they expect and how will this affect them?
They're going to feel it, no doubt, when it comes to poultry, right? So those chicken wings that Seth loves, he's going to be paying a lot more for them. So first and foremost, the health issue. So we got to make sure nobody gets sick. But at the same time, when we're talking about a bird flu like this, what's going to happen? Supply's going to go down. Demand is still going to stay high. We're all going to pay more.
Ugh. All right. Well, General Motors has been contracted to build optionally manned tanks. Now, the tanks will include the option to be fully autonomous. Seth, considering the international climate with potential war starting, could GM be a good investment at this point?
I wouldn't use this as a singular reason why you might invest in GM. I have been watching GM. It's down year to date, but it's up over the last year. A long span, it's up as well. And GM historically pre-pandemic paid a dividend. I'm a big advocate of dividends. I always say an investment isn't really an asset unless it's paying you or you sell it. So I'm watching GM, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on it just yet.
Okay. All right. Well, let's stick with GM for a second. Now, the car maker petitioning for permission to release a zero-emission electric vehicle that could replace things like Ubers and taxis. But get this, it won't have a steering wheel. When they say fully autonomous, they certainly mean it. Jennifer, we kind of saw what happened with Tesla and their autonomous vehicles. Is this a good idea? Do you think it'll work?
Yeah, look, the world would be a safer place if there were no steering wheels and humans weren't operating cars. And I'll give you an example why. When you do a math problem on a calculator, how many times does the calculator get it wrong? Versus if you or I or any human does a math problem, the percentage it gets wrong. I do think there's a lot of concerns around AI, but I think a world where there's no human error in driving could be a very good and safer world. Other problems will occur, but I think it's a positive thing.
Oh, interesting.
It's going to make for some boring NASCAR, though, Alex. I will say that the Daytona 500 this past week, I really enjoyed watching it. NASCAR without steering wheels could be kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, but for moms who've got to get 5 kids to 5 different locations, it's like the dream. Throw them in a car and just say, hey, head to Girl Scouts. Yeah, boom.
All right, so let's take it to the sea. Now, the world's largest cruise ship is hitting the seas, measuring almost 1,200 feet in length. The Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Sea is a massive cruise ship, including 18 decks, and can hold over 9,000 people. Seth, considering the struggles of the current cruise industry, is now a good time for the biggest cruise ship ever to launch?
Well, I don't know. The timing is really what it is on this. This order went in for this ship in 2016, long before we were ever talking about coronavirus. And so eventually it gets delivered. You got to put it out there. I will say this. The Denson family is big on the cruises. We've had 3 canceled over the last couple of years. We were originally scheduled to be on this ship, but we opted to go with another ship. We will be leaving out the same week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't get canceled.
Ooh. I really hope you can go. I've actually never been on a cruise, but Seth, I really hope you can make that one. All right, so Krispy Kreme and Twix, I'm a little excited about this. When they launched a new lineup of donuts now through March 6th, you can grab 3 caramel cookie bar inspired treats. Jennifer, this is actually the first time that Krispy Kreme has collaborated with a candy brand. Do you think this is a good move, and will you be picking one up?
Yeah, so first, thanks for launching this right during Lent, Twix and Krispy Kremes. Not helpful, right during Lent. But second, look, Krispy Kreme sells 20 million donuts a year. Twix sells 161 million candy bars. Ooh. This is a great boon for Krispy Kreme, and there has to be something in it for Twix. I imagine it's a lot of money. But yeah, no, this is an absolutely smart brand move. It's an interesting one. Twix wouldn't be the first candy I'd jump to, but 161 million bars sold each year. You can't argue with that.
Not too shabby. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dan Geltrude, Jennifer Stefano, and Seth Denson. Always a blast to have you guys on.
Thanks for